My name's Stacy, and I'll be showing you how to enliven your bath time with this DIY Bath Fizz. Today you'll need a few ingredients. Let's start with our dry ingredients. First, you're going to need baking soda. We'll be using 1 cup of baking soda for this recipe. Next, you're going to need cornstarch. You'll be using half a cup of cornstarch for this recipe. Then citric acid, another half a cup. And Epsom salts, scented or unscented, your choice, another half a cup. Next, let's talk about our wet ingredients. We'll be adding these after all of the dry ingredients, so you don't need to pour them right away, but you can if you'd like to. First, distilled water. You want to make sure it's distilled so you don't have any crazy reactions. We'll be using 1 teaspoon of distilled water. Next, our scented oil. We'll be using essential oil. Ours is peppermint. You need 2 teaspoons of your oil. Lastly, your carrier oil. This could be anything from coconut to avocado. It's completely up to you. You will need 2 teaspoons of carrier oil. You will also need food coloring if you want to color your Bath Fizz. And then we have some physical items that we'll address next. For items you'll need, first, a mixing bowl. You want it to be big enough that you can combine all of your ingredients. You'll also need a whisk, your favorite cookie cutter, unless you have a Bath Fizz mold. You'll also need a plate for placing your Bath Fizz on so it can dry. And of course, you'll need your measuring tools. That would be a measuring cup and a teaspoon. Now let's begin. First, grab your baking soda. Again, this is 1 cup of baking soda, and dump it right into your mixing bowl. We'll be adding all of our dry ingredients together, so we'll be whisking them at the end. You can do these in any order you'd like, or you can follow along. Next, cornstarch. This is going to keep your Bath Fizz nice and dry. This is 1/2 a cup. You may need to tap a little vigorously to get it out. Next, citric acid. This is another 1/2 a cup. You may or may not be familiar with this as it is used in canning. And for our last dry ingredient, and what you may have thought was our main ingredient, Epsom salt. Like I said, you can have this scented or unscented. It's entirely up to you. This is 1/2 of a cup. Now that we have all of our dry ingredients combined, we're going to be whisking them together until they are well combined. You'll know it's well combined whenever your cornstarch doesn't look so clumpy. Now that we've got our dry ingredients well combined, tap off that whisk and set it on the table. We're going to be adding our wet ingredients next. Now, you want to keep in mind that this will cause a reaction if you go too fast, so you want to slowly add your wet ingredients while you whisk. So, place the whisk in your non-dominant hand before we begin. This is the distilled water. You only need a teaspoon of it, and we're going to add it last, so set it to the side so you don't mix it up. We'll be adding our fragrance oil first, 2 teaspoons of this. Ours is peppermint, like I said. You can use anything you like. You can add more if you like, but be careful because it will make your tub slippery. So we're going to slowly add it, slowly, and whisk the whole time. And just make sure that it is well combined before we add our next wet ingredient. You don't want it to be too clumpy, but a little clumpy is just fine. Now that this is well combined, let's add our carrier oil. Like I said, ours is coconut oil, and we have 2 teaspoons of this. We didn't melt ours, so it's a little firm, and you might be in the same boat. You can warm it up so it gets a little more liquid, but it's not necessary. So just make sure you tap it out firmly and mix it the whole time. If you need to, you can tap out your whisk to make sure that those big clumps get mixed in. Now that we've mixed in our oils, let's add our distilled water. This is a very volatile component and it will cause premature fizzing if you're not careful. So go very slowly and stir it in the entire time. And like I said, this is 1 teaspoon. Some premature fizzing is okay. I'm sure you'll hear some as soon as the first drops of water hit it. You just don't want it to do too much or it'll chain reaction with everything. This is the texture that you want your Bath Fizz to be. You can tell that it's the right texture if it doesn't really fall out of the whisk. See, only a little. Next, we're going to be adding our food coloring. You could stop right here if you wanted to, but we're not done with the fun yet, so we're adding some blue food coloring to ours today. You can add as much as your heart desires, but please be careful. You don't want to dye your tub or yourself. Some of that premature fizzing right there, so like I said, just make sure that you are stirring it really well. And there's that beautiful wet sand texture we're talking about. Loaded up. Now that we've got everything well combined again, we have a lovely blue color, we have wet sand texture, we are ready to have some more fun. Grab your favorite cookie cutter, 2 or 3, and we are going to be packing our wet sand mixture into the cookie cutter. So place your cookie cutter on a table or a plate or a cutting board, whatever you'd like. Grab yourself a decent handful of your mixture, mash it in your hand a little bit to make sure it holds, and place it right into your cookie mold. You can make this as full as you'd like, but we're only going to do ours about halfway so that we can save some fun for you guys. And just make sure that you're packing it into the corners. The tighter you pack it, the better chance it will hold its shape. Now that we've got our mold packed, we are going to let it set for 10 minutes. That way it can firm up a little bit before we're ready to take it out of the mold. So we will be right back with you in 10 minutes. All right, we're back. It's been 10 minutes. Let's try and tap out our Bath Fizz. As I said, tap. You want to grab your cookie cutter and you want to vigorously tap the sides a little bit above your plate. With some persistence, it should come right out. Now that you've tapped out your Bath Fizz, you want to leave it alone for 24 hours so that it can completely set. Commit to 24 hours on the counter. And then it can look like this. A beautiful Bath Fizz we made the other day. This one is orange and vanilla scented, and it's a little bit smaller. These things are bound to liven up your bath time. We hope you enjoyed. This has been the Calcasieu Parish Public Library's DIY Bath Fizz.